Hello and welcome to this exclusive interview here on France 24. Welcome to Ankara, the capital of Turkey. We are at the presidential palace and our guest today is the President of the Republic of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Mr. President, thank you very much for hosting us. I want to begin with the situation in Yemen. Saudi Arabia has launched a military operation with several allies to try to halt the advance of the rebel Houthis. Do you support the Saudi-led military intervention in Yemen?
Ve bu açıklamayla birlikte şu anda Suudi Arabistan'ın öncülüğünde devam eden Körfez ülkeleri.
It has been made clear that in this operation that is being led by Saudi Arabia and also joined by a large majority of Gulf countries, we are indeed supporting this operation. And at the time, politically speaking, we are also on their side with all of our means because the Houthis
Aylardır.
For months now have been carrying out attacks, and to speak the truth, these attacks aimed devising the territorial integrity of the country of Yemen, and also could pave the way for sectarian violence. That was the intention of those attacks, and that would of course be naturally followed by a new wave of terror that would set the frame for such a period in Yemen. And this kind of an atmosphere has already started reigning in the country, and in this kind of a process, in this kind of a period, this ongoing operation led by Saudi Arabia, these operations, in our opinion, are important for the future of Yemen. And we are providing our political support to them. We will continue to do so. And in later stages, there might also be some logistical considerations, and if there's a role for us to play, then we might be in a position to do so.
Does this mean that in addition to the political support, you could provide not only intelligence, logistical, but military support, if need be, to this new coalition?
Şu anda zaten
Well, as we speak,
herhangi bir şey söz konusu değil.
we are not engaged in anything militarily speaking. From an intelligence point of view, politically, and from a logistics point of view, yes, we are in a position to provide support.
But you may one day help militarily.
Diyorum ya şu anda tabii.
Well, as I'm saying, right now it's not on the table. It will be determined by the developments that will take place. I don't know, of course, what development might happen, because you see the situation in Iraq, in Syria. We have seen what's been going on in those two countries, and here the whole matter boils down to
birçok tabii.
of course, the fact that unfortunately there are some help initiatives that are being provided to the Houthis in Yemen, and first of all, these forces need to get out of Yemen and let the Yemeni people to live in freedom in their own land. That opportunity has to be granted to them, and therefore this step that's being taken, in my opinion, is the right one.
Many Gulf countries, starting with Saudi Arabia, are accusing very directly Iran of being behind the Houthis, saying that it's a proxy war led by Iran. Do you think that this is indeed the case?
Şu anda ne yazık ki görüntü bu.
Well, unfortunately, it seems that way right now, and it is as if it's evolving into a Shia and Sunni matter. That's the kind of a period we are going through. Of course, that's not desirable at all. We wished this never happened, actually. And as soon as possible, both the Iranian side and other terrorist organizations that are giving them support need to withdraw. And Yemen should be left to its own devices, should be governed on its own will.
So this brings us to the regional role played by Iran. Are you saying that Iran is present in Yemen, but we've also seen Iranian presence, obviously, in Syria? We see Iranian presence in Iraq. Are you concerned about Iran's role in the region?
Bu tartışmasız. Yani
It's quite clear, there's no discussion about it.
İran
Is trying to dominate the whole region in its own way. And these developments are not the right kind of developments. You see the situation Iraq is in. You see the situation Syria is in. And when we talk to them about these matters, unfortunately,
ideal anlamda
they do not display the ideal kind of attitude, if I may put it this way. And one point has to be very clear. Sectarianism in any form and shape is dangerous and it's wrong, regardless of the sect we're talking about. Right now, Iraq, as you see, although it has great means on its own, it's going through all kinds of sufferings and pain. Syria, 300,000 people lost their lives, so it's not an easy thing. And the fact that 300,000 people lost their lives, unfortunately, that's something that's simply being watched by Iran. Iran is just standing by, giving some support. The same support is also applicable to the case of Iraq. And we have made this point on numerous occasions to our Iranian friends. But this is a point on which we haven't been able to agree with them. And right now, in Syria, where 300,000 people have been killed, again, chemical weapons are being used. Conventional weapons have led to the deaths of more than 300,000 people. And this is happening before the very eyes of the whole world. The killer, Assad did this in Syria, and Iranian regime is backing Assad. And they have to refrain from that. Because expecting a just approach from Iran as one of our neighbors and as a country sharing the same faith, I think it's our right to do so. But interpreting the situation from a sectarian point of view, if that's the way they want to go down, then of course we cannot have a positive attitude towards it. And as we speak, this kind of a struggle between the Sunnis and the Shia going on, it's a source of sadness for us. And where it has come is actually the situation in Yemen. We wouldn't have wanted to see this, we wouldn't have wanted to experience this, but of course it might only go on up to a certain point, and that's the point we are at now. And again, at one point, against this injustice, against this oppression in Yemen, and it is a country where you have the legitimate President Hadi. He has left for Aden. He has gone there and he's there with his people, with his team. So it's no ordinary thing that the president has had to displace, has had to move elsewhere. Because Sana'a is the capital. Why did you have to move, right? So these are all points of consideration for us.
I want to before we get to Syria, I want to get to Iraq, because in Iraq, as we speak, there is an ongoing battle for Tikrit. There are preparations for the Battle of Mosul, which is controlled by the organization of the Islamic State known as Daesh. However, in Iraq, in Tikrit, we see Iranian presence on the ground. We see especially the Al-Quds General Qasem Soleimani in Tikrit, very much in the open. And it seems there is some cooperation with U.S. military hitting from the sky. How do you fight the Iranians in Yemen, and how do you cooperate with them in Iraq? What's the logic behind this?
Az önce söylediğim gibi,
well, as I was saying,
DAEŞ'e lütfen İslam devleti demeyelim.
Please let us not call Daesh an Islamic State or Iraqi Islamic State. That kind of an appellation would be disrespectful of Islam, and of course it would amount to defining a terrorist organization as a state. So it's the wrong kind of approach, in my opinion, when fighting against terrorism. It's sufficient to call it, I think, Daesh and not go any further.
Az önce ismini verdiğiniz kişi,
the individual you have named is someone I know very well. And the information we obtain from the newspapers, but also the intelligence that we have, unfortunately tells us that, yes, he is part of these operations in Iraq. So what's their objective? Well, to increase the power of the Shia in Iraq. That's what they want. But unfortunately, let me also be very clear about this particular point. Air operations, I don't believe that air operations will lead to success, because air operations and land operations have to go hand in hand. And for that to happen, especially there's something I repeated frequently for Syria, for the case of Syria. I said, well, train and equip, yes, we are doing that. We have agreed on that. We will continue doing that, okay. But there has to be a no-fly zone, and there also has to be a safe zone, which needs to be declared. Without a no-fly zone, without a safe zone, then, you know, the problem will continue. When it comes to Iraq, in Iraq, air operations will not suffice. There will have to be a land operation. And the majority of Mosul, the population at least, they have fled. They have left the city. And those who are inside, those who are still in the city, are under constant threat of Daesh. And you have to, of course, extend a helping hand to those individuals who have fled, and those remaining, once given the support, maybe they will be able to turn the tables over. But as we see the developments currently, Daesh is slowly leaving Tikrit. I have just been given some information to this end. I hope that, of course, Iraq and Syria will be ridden of this organization.
Even if it's with Iranian help and cooperation between the US and Iran, it doesn't bother you as long as Daesh is kicked out of Iraq?
DAEŞ'in oradan
Well, getting rid of Daesh, kicking them out of these places, those people who live in those provinces, in those cities, they will go back to their homes, to their own cities. And, of course, as it is known, the operations, well, we, for instance, as a neighboring country, we stand ready. We have provided all kinds of support when it comes to humanitarian aid and logistics. The United States, sometimes France, Germany, they have been involved in air operations, air strikes, even the United Kingdom. And we have also always been concerned about one single point: kicking that organization out of that region. And Iran's attitude towards the matter is not sincere, because they have a sectarian agenda, so they will want to fill the void that will be created by Daesh themselves. We don't have that kind of an approach, and we want a scenario where you don't have a sectarian scenario, where you have the people of Mosul going back to their homes, again Al-Anbar, people going back to their homes, and Tikrit, again Tikrit people living in that city going back to their homes. That's the kind of an era that we are looking forward to.
Are you ready to do more militarily in Iraq than you are currently to help this happen?
Well,
yes, the support will have to be provided for a period.
I want to get to the issue of Syria. You must have noted that in recent months there has been some talk in Western countries of a rapprochement with Bashar al-Assad. Some French members of parliament went to Damascus, met him. John Kerry said that in the end we would have to negotiate with him. Then they amended it, but clearly the atmosphere has changed, and it seems that the West has realized that Bashar is here to stay, and that for a solution, a peaceful solution in Syria, he needs to be part of that solution.
Well, let me make a point very clear, abundantly clear. On my trip to France, when I was discussing these matters with President Hollande, I saw that he was on the same page with us, and he never considered Assad as a counterpart. He said this personally to me. And similarly, this kind of a visit from the French Parliament going to that country, Mr. Hollande actually made a declaration saying that these individuals are in no position to represent themselves. So this being the case, Assad is of course not legitimate. That's out of the question. Similarly, the United States, the expressions attributed to Secretary Kerry have been retracted, have been taken back, and another explanation was provided. And the latest word from their side was that Assad can never be a part of the solution. The same for us.
But do you trust them, or do you feel that something is changing? You're an experienced politician. You know that this sends a message to Assad.
We cannot possibly have confidence in Assad because the people of Syria do not have confidence in that individual. That is someone who killed 300,000 people. How can we have confidence in that individual? That's not possible. As a politician, as a leader, it would be simply denying myself because we are always on the side of freedoms, peace, respect to people's right to life. That's our purpose of existence. This is a kind of individual to whom his own people have no respect, and he doesn't respect the right to life of his own people. This kind of a president, this kind of a head of state, we cannot possibly say that this individual is legitimate and we can have talks with them. Never. Never in this world. Because the first condition is that he has to go. He has to be taken out of this position, or he has to withdraw or step out himself. And his future will not be very bright, in my opinion. And sooner or later, the Syrian people will set the course for the country's future. And as is the case with some countries' rhetoric saying, if Assad goes, Daesh will replace him. No, Daesh will not replace him. The Syrian people will replace him. The Syrian people's will replace him. We want to create the grounds for the Syrian people's will. We need to do this. If we believe in democracy, if we defend democracy, then the will of the Syrian people will have to find a suitable ground without any obstacles, without the pressure of anyone, so that they go to the elections on their own will and select a leader to be governed by.
Very quickly, there is a controversy with Armenia over the commemoration of the 1915 events. The president of Armenia is accusing you of sabotaging the commemoration of those events by hosting a commemoration in Turkey on the same day, April 24th. He's saying that you're cynically sabotaging the Armenian memory. What's your response?
Bakın bugüne kadar
Well,
Türkiye ile Ermenistan arasındaki
until today, when it comes to the problems between Turkey and Armenia, we have always been the ones to take the positive steps. Armenia has never taken any positive step.
hep barış elimizi
And we have always extended our hand in peace, but
Geçen yıl 23
our hand was never met by theirs. Last year, on the 23rd of April, I published a letter. I don't know if you are aware of that. This letter received quite positive feedback, but I did not get the same positive feedback from Armenia. This year, we are commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Gallipoli land battles.
Ermenistan'dan izin mi alacak?
We are in no position to obtain permission from Armenia to do so. It's a date in history. It's set in history. It's the 100th anniversary of the land battles of Gallipoli, and it has nothing to do with the ceremonies to be held by Armenia. It has absolutely nothing to do with them. Quite the contrary, they fixed their ceremonies to coincide with our date. We have no such consideration. We have no such worry to coincide it with that event. On the 24th of April,
18 Mart'ta
we will hopefully contribute to world peace. On the 18th of March, our Prime Minister attended an event, and on the 24th of April, I will be the host of these ceremonies. The 23rd April will be a peace summit. We will be sending out some messages. On the 24th, we will be in Çanakkale province, sending again out some messages. On the 25th, our guests will be there for dawn ceremonies to send the same messages.
Very last question, Mr. President. There are elections on June 7th. There's been some criticism in the West that you're willing to become a very powerful president that's putting at risk democracy in Turkey. You're aware of the criticism about journalists, about freedom of expression, and some people are wondering if you want to become the new Sultan of Turkey. What is your response to this criticism?
Şu anda Fransa'da
Right now, in France, Mr. Hollande is not a sultan, right? You have the half presidency because there. Similarly, in the United States, Mr. Obama, President Obama, is not a sultan, right? They have a presidential system. Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, the same. They all have presidential systems. Why do they not say the same thing for those places but for Turkey? Because I come from the ballot box, from elections. I have not come to this position with a coup d'etat. Those who ask us this question, why didn't they ask the same question to Egypt's case? Because there was a coup there. And the one who was elected, where is he? Behind bars. What was the crime? Was he a sultan? No, quite the contrary. He established a cabinet and he was ruling the country just fine. We have to know one thing clearly. Those who have faith in democracy, unfortunately, they're not always on the side of those who struggle for democracy. They are looking for those ones who will be in the same line of thinking as themselves. That's quite the wrong thing to do, because if you have faith in democracy, let's leave it to the people's will. 4 years, 5 years, whatever the term, when it expires, if the people don't like the person, then the person will go anyway. The regime will change. Why are there interventions from the outside? Why are there military coups from the inside? You know, we have to be mindful about these issues. So, I had a prime minister or term as the prime minister for 12 years, and I have a quite clear track record. The service, it's out there. I will never go back from that. But right now, this system is too restrictive for us. We want to go from parliamentarian democracy to a presidential system, and this has been discussed and debated in our country for many years. We just want to realize it now. And to realize it, you need a certain percentage of the vote. It is either through a referendum that you can do this, or at the parliament you amend the constitution. You have the necessary numbers of members of the parliament to be able to amend the constitution. If any political party attains this number, then yes, it will be possible to make this change. If not, of course, not all political parties want this. We have just one political party who wants this system, the others are against it, so we will have to wait until the 7th of June. And I believe that that date will be very important for our country with a view to this discussion. And of course, I don't think that calling this a potential dictatorship is the right thing to do. So it's disrespectful of Turkey, it's disrespectful towards me, because until today you have never seen such a thing in my practices other than caring for people and serving for my country. You know, I have a very clear track record, and you also have to know that there is no ballot box in a dictatorship.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for answering all our questions. Thank you very much for watching this exclusive interview here on France 24 from the